Hello, guys, and welcome to yet another exciting episode in our series Solving WASSCE Past Questions. This is Kojo Japan, and let's jump right into what we have today. Now, we're going to look at the problem that was given in WASSCE 2021, and this is problem number 2, where it's about spreadsheets. Now, for 15 marks, we are supposed to complete these tasks, which are 5 in number. So let's get right into it. Let's launch our Excel application or whatever spreadsheet applications that you guys are familiar with. Just hook onto that and then let's do what needs to be done. All right, so just resizing my files and then we can just jump straight into it. So this is problem number 2. Let's begin. So A reads, using a spreadsheet application, create a workbook with the following data as formatted below. So we have our table in here, so we jump right into it and start doing so. So from the table up there, you see our first label, which is WASSCE result details. So we just type it as we just see up in there. So WASSCE result details, that is that. But looking at that, our WASSCE results table has been merged into about 7 columns, if my count is right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, sure. So we go ahead. This is from your home tab in your alignment group. You see merge and center. So you hit on that to just center our label. Now come to the next row. We have index number there. So we have index number, we have name. And then next one you see subject, which is all uppercase. So subject plural. Now looking at subjects, we can just see that it has been merged into 3 columns. So we can just merge 3 columns together and then we can merge and center and then we have subject. The next that we have is total. So total score. And then we have student average. Now these two tests we can see have been wrapped. Now wrapping is just when we just send a lengthy text to the next row. So this is the button or the command for test wrapping. And here you can wrap, as the description is saying, extra long text into multiple lines. So we can see all of them. So let's go ahead and wrap this text and wrap that text too. Now we can tell that they are taking up 2 columns. So what we have to do is to select each one of them and then merge with the column beneath. So you hold your shift key and then use your down arrow key to select the next row below. Now under subject we have ENG for English, we have maths, and then we have ICT. So fairly enough, we have to also merge the two for index number. So we just merge them. Now looking at this measure, we just use the top align so that it heads back up there. And then we have name. We also do the same thing. We merge and then we send it up there. So we actually are left aligning it. So basically the most important thing is done. And looks like our tests are bolded enough, so we can just select them all and then just bold them up. And then looking at this, our labels are much more bigger than our regular tests, so we can just try to increase this to, let's say, 12 is fine, and our normal test will take up 15. Our normal 12, that is 11. So if that is 12, then we have 11. Now, what is the length of our data here? We don't know. Let's just start typing our index numbers, and then we can use spreadsheet's most important feature, autofill, to complete the rest, and then we'll have a fair idea of how lengthy this should be. So when you're just done with 2 of them, you can use Excel to help you up to index number 6, and then that is good to go. The next thing that we have in there is just subjects subject total score. So that is the entirety. Now looking at subject total score, it is being merged into two columns. So we can just go ahead, select the two columns, and then just merge them. So up in here, we see that it is disappearing there. We can just pull back and forth just to adjust how it looks like. Then what we have to do next is to create borders around our text, and we are good to just begin. Now highlight everything, and then you look into your font group. Now in your font group, you see that we have borders. Now that's for borders. So we hit on the drop down to bring all borders, and then we put our thick borders around our text. So most of the work formatting is done. All that we are left with is to do our basic data entry. So I'm going to pause right here. You guys continue inputting your data, but make sure that they are as accurate as we see on our problem. Now back in here, we have our last entry, which is Yamansa. Now Yamansa had 70 in English, had 60 in mathematics or maths, and then has 56 in ICT. So that is good, and then we have to resize ourselves so that the names will just pop up just fine. So we do that, and then next thing we have to just take note is that our numbers are left aligned. But looking at this, by default, numbers typed into our cells are right aligned. So what we do here is we can go back and then just highlight every number that we might input in here, and then go to our alignment group and then choose left align so that they will just be as what we see in here. So that is most of our formatting, and then we'll go back and then continue with the rest of our problems. Now, what do we have here? For problem number B, use a function or formula to determine the total score for each student or candidate. Calculate the average score for each candidate and then the total score for each subject. So how do we get total score? That is basically invoking the sum function, and then we just want to find the sum of the three subjects that is due each student. So after that, we can just use autofill to just do that for the rest of them. We go to the next part, we find the average of the scores of these subjects. So we invoke the formula or the function average. It creates that, selects the scores, and then we can just apply autofill to do that for the rest of the candidates. Then the subject total score, just as we did before, total, we just sum in. So we sum all these up, and then that should also autofill for the next two subjects. So basically, that is it for problem number B. Sorted out. Now we go to C. C says we should format the average student scores to 2 decimal places. So how do we invoke that? Now looking at our number group. So in your home tab, number group, you see this commands which are increase decimal, decrease decimal. So our problem is to just set the average scores of students to just 2 decimal places. So are we increasing decimal or are we decreasing decimal? So here we need to decrease to just 2 decimal places, and that is our 2 decimal place formatting. So that is that. Problem number D, insert your full name using the header tool. Now it is very easy to just jump into the header facility by changing your view to page layout, our worksheet view to page layout. You hit on the page layout, you are given the opportunity to type in a header. So the problem is type your full name. Now I'm Kojo Japan, and you just type your name there as instructed to. So basically that is it for problem number D. Now problem number E, we have to save our workbook as results with our index number in the folder that we created on our desktop. So here we come to the part where we have to save our file. So hit on file, you select save as, we browse to our desktop. Now on our desktop, there is no folder that we created. Usually when you read the instruction from Abstract, we'll be using our initials. So if you are Kojo Japan KA, and then your index number will be that. Now inside this folder is where our problem should be. And from our problem set, we are supposed to save our results or our solution as results with our index number. So that is basically that. Make sure that the type is an Excel workbook, and then we can save. So if that is done, and then we are sure that that is what exactly the problem is asking for us to do, make sure everything is correct. Our data in here is correct as well, and everything is properly formatted and then aligned, just as we see up in here. So when that is done, we close, and then the most important part of this is to verify. So we go to the folder we created on our desktop, we open our folder, make sure that our work is in there, we open it, and then just see that yes, our work is in there. So thank you guys, that is it for WASSCE 2021 spreadsheet problem. And I have been your host, Kojo Japan. Thank you, thumbs up, share, leave your comments, and then see you next time in the next video. Stay safe out there, guys, and continue to be great. Bye.